Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So as I promised you guys, here is the brand new Huda Beauty Naughty Nude eyeshadow palette. This retails at £58, which is very pricey, as is expected of Huda Beauty's eyeshadow palettes. This is the standard price that she tends to charge for her larger eyeshadow palettes. Huda is known for having the smaller obsession size ones, and yes, I do have this here for a reason, and then the much larger ones, and I think I've pretty much got all of the Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes bar maybe one or two. Now Huda did this thing where she wanted to do a spin on what nude actually is, and that's when she came out with this new nude eyeshadow palette, which was basically her way of saying the new nude is now mauves and pinks. And that is what she's kind of carried through with this larger eyeshadow palette here. Now altogether there are 18 shades first off, and this comes in a very heavy duty plastic eyeshadow palette. Huda's handwriting on the front which says naughty, and she has for the first time removed her own eyes off of the eyeshadow palette, which I don't know, it kind of looks a bit boring. I mean, in terms of it being called naughty, you know, you'd expect it to be naughty, but I don't really see what's naughty about this. And it comes with a very large mirror with all 18 shadows spaced out evenly inside. Now from watching all of the promo videos and Huda's social media explaining what the background of this palette is, I don't know about you guys, but I found it slightly cheesy and a little bit naff and slightly cringe. She did a whole video dedicated towards her sexuality, which was just a plug for her eyeshadow palette. I mean, if you were to sell us, Huda, your eyeshadow palette, we would buy it. You don't need to tell us some fake story on the background that an eyeshadow palette made you a better lover. I mean, really, not everything has to relate to your supposed personal experiences in life in order to sell a piece of makeup. Just sell it to us. Another thing that I really have to mention, and bear with me on this because I was actually genuinely insulted by one of the things that she'd said in her video. Huda Beauty has only about a year ago, maybe even less than that, announced that she found out that she has endometriosis and PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. Now, I cannot comment on PCOS. I know quite a few people that suffer from it, including in my own family. However, I'm not experienced enough to talk about that. Endometriosis, on the other hand. Now, some of you guys may not know this. I don't know why you would. It's not something I often talk about. It's something quite private to me. I suffer from endometriosis. I was diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 26 years old. I've had 2 surgeries and I have been taking medication for it for the past 10 years. I manage it. I do exercise. I do yoga. I help myself. Endometriosis has been listed by the NHS as one of the most painful conditions in the world. It is genetic. It is hereditary. I got it from my grandma's side of the family. I know that because there are other members of my family that suffer from it as well. Huda came out with in a video about an eyeshadow palette that because of her shame about talking about sexuality, shame gave her endometriosis. That is the most illiterate, ignorant, uneducated, unprofessional comment. There is no such thing medically as having a disease. It has no cure, by the way. You don't get it from shame. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you even say something like that? Do you know how much that infuriated me? Shame can bring on stress, which can bring on anxiety and stress-related issues. That's fine. If you had said that, I would agree. Shame does not give you endometriosis. As you can see, I'm still quite angry about that and still quite annoyed. And the reason more so is because she's got such a large, impressionable following. How many young women would have watched her video going, oh, is that why I've got this illness which may result in me never being able to have children? That is a side effect, unfortunately. That is one of my biggest worries in life, is that I will never be able to have children because of this illness. So to hear somebody using that as an excuse, giving misinformation, fake news to sell makeup, you are morally corrupt. All right, you know what? I'm actually a little bit annoyed, so I'm just going to step away from a second and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about the eyeshadow palette itself. Okay, I'm back and I'm calm. So again, comes in a waste of plastic packaging. The only thing that is on here is the whole load of ingredients, which there are quite a few of because there are a variety of different textures in here. But this is not necessary, Huda. I've mentioned it before. Put it in some cardboard so we can recycle it properly. Now, let me just read to you what the product info is off of Huda's website. It says, unleash your fiercest naughty alter ego. Take your nude infatuation to new heights with this naughty reimagination of our best-selling new nude palette. 18 delicious shades in 5 ultra-wearable textures have been harmoniously curated to undress your eyes and empowers you to be your most fierce and confident self. It contains 8 velvety soft mattes, 5 high shine metallics, 3 multi-reflective marble creams, 1 hypnotic marble cream, and 1 never seen before gloss with encapsulated bronze and berry pearls. It is cruelty-free, talc-free, and gluten-free. And this eyeshadow palette is also made in Italy. So let's quickly talk about the textures before I go into a demo of me doing this. I might just add the demo in as I'm talking along like I normally do. Now, the matte shades are very similar to all the other matte shades that have been released in the past. There is no difference in terms of texture or quality. The matte shades are excellent. I've always said that. I like the fact that they kick up some powder, but not enough. That little bit of extra kick makes it a lot easier to blend on the eyes. So altogether there are 8 matte shades, which is great because then that means that you don't always have to use the same matte shade on your eyes or in the crease and that sort of thing. However, I do have to say that the matte shades are very, very similar in color, which makes layering very easy, and that's exactly what I did today with the eye look that I've got on now. I layered so many of the shades to create depth and dimension, but that also means that you will unfortunately come up with a lot of samey looks, especially when it comes to the crease rather than on the actual eyelid itself. But the quality I cannot fault whatsoever. And in regards to the colors of all the 8 shades, they all work with my medium skin tone perfectly, and they will work with all skin tones as well, except for one, which is the shade on the beginning called Filthy, which is quite a pale mauve shade. If you've got very deep skin tone, it will show up grayish on you, but if it's just one shade that annoys you but the rest work, then it's worth buying the palette, I would say. Now let's also go through the next one, which is the 5 high shine metallic shade. So that would be the shade called Desire, Tantric, Irresistible, Shameless, and Please Me. You guys, the quality is excellent. One thing I have noticed is that as she releases new eyeshadow palettes, the quality does change from palette to palette. They have learnt over the years what does not work and what does work. Please don't fall into the trap of every time Huda releases a palette, it's a game changer. She's learned from the previous and she's changed it. But does that mean that the first game-changing product was not as game-changing as you said it was? Yes, basically. But I do have to say that the shades are so intense. One thing I've noticed is that from previous original palettes, and I'm talking about the larger ones rather than the small ones, the foiled ones used to be very difficult to apply with a brush. You had to use your finger to rub it in and then you could get maximum payoff, but a brush could never pick it up as it was too tightly packed in. They've learnt since then. These 5 shades, the quality is so good. The shimmer and shine is so intense and the pigmentation is absolutely excellent. I'm wearing Tantric on my eyelid. I did not have to go in with more than one layer. I used my finger and then I used a brush to kind of blend out the edges, but I have to say that the quality is so good and I am so impressed. Definitely one of the best high shine metallics that I've used out of all of Huda's palettes. She's definitely improved since the release of the previous large eyeshadow palettes, such as the new nude one and the Mercury retrograde one as well. The next one is 3 multi-reflective marble creams. So that would be the shade Provocative, Flower Power, and Passion. Again, absolutely excellent quality. Now the reason that they're called multi-reflective marble creams is that everybody is going to have a different kind of shade. It's just kind of been poured in and then it's set the way that it's set. So some people may have this Flower Power shade leaning a little bit more brown rather than gold, or Passion may lean a little bit more pink rather than purple, and Provocative may lean a little bit more bronze rather than what's the other shade inside it, like a dark browny kind of color. So it's all down to the kind of palette that you just happen to pick up. The quality is soft, buttery to the touch, absolutely excellent in quality. I'm so impressed with these. This eyeshadow palette has definitely impressed me in terms of the quality, and comparing it to other palettes, this definitely has the best quality in comparison to all the other larger eyeshadow palettes. And it says 1 hypnotic marble cream. Now the matte one, that must be this matte one here in the corner, which is called Hard. Again, it's going to be one of those ones where everybody's got a different kind of shade. When I touch it, it kind of comes out like a dirty sort of brown, which is fine by me. I would definitely say that the texture of the mattes is similar but slightly different. This has got a slight satiny sheen to it. And then let's talk about the last one here. That looks like COVID. That looks like the bubonic plague. I just mentioned something, you guys. I actually do suffer from trypopophobia. If you don't know what that is, it is basically an irrational fear of clusters of circles. I'm lucky because the one that I actually got, the pearls within it are quite spread out. But some of the ones I've seen online, like I actually have a physical reaction to clusters of circles. It's an irrational fear. Something which is irrational doesn't have a logical explanation. Anytime I can't eat crumpets for that exact reason. Anywhere where there's something that looks like little circles, look like eggs, looks like, ugh. Now it's meant to be like, it's a gloss and within it is bronze and berry pearls. My one don't do nothing. It is the most pointless product within this whole palette. Let me rub, if I rub my finger on it loads, right? I'll rub it loads. A little bit, what is it? What's that? Can you even see anything? It's useless. It's pointless. There we go. I've rubbed it into nothing. Now it just feels like I've got Vaseline on my hand. Now they have stated it on Game Changer, as always, that, you know, you can rub it on your eyes for a glossy kind of look. Yeah, I tried that. It creased and my eyelids kept getting stuck to the top. Weird. And you can use it as a base for other eyeshadows. What's the point? It don't do nothing. It's pointless. It's useless. It's literally an unnecessary thing for the sake of trying to create something new. Well, another thing that I do need to mention is in regards to these high shine metallics, there is a lot of fallout. Even doing this look today, I've got little bits of sparkle and glitter on my face. So bear that in mind, that sometimes if you do want to use these high shine metallics, do your eye makeup first, then do your face afterwards. Now overall, I think that this is an excellent palette. I'm very, very happy with it. The quality, bar this COVID-19 in the corner, is absolutely excellent. I cannot fault a single one of these eyeshadows. The quality is amazing. And when I compare it to previous palettes, like I've said, I can definitely see that this is a much better, much more improved version of the other ones, and I can only say that purely because I actually do own them and have compared them as well, and it's how I noticed that they apply on the eyes a lot more easily, a lot more vibrant, and just a lot more user friendly. All right, what I'm going to do now is I am going to kind of remove part of my top because I can't get this over my head. It's like a polar neck kind of thing. I'm going to swatch them against the inside of my hand and go through each individual shade with you, let you know what my thoughts are, which ones perform better than others, and just so that you can see how every single one of them works against my medium skin tone. For reference, I'm wearing Huda Beauty's foundation stick in the shade Tres Leches, and that's what works for me-ish at the moment. All right, so the first shade that we're going to start off with is this one here called Filthy. All right, so this is one of the matte shades. It's a neutral toned medium sort of pink color with a hint of mauve. Very easy to blend, very nicely pigmented, great for everyday kind of looks. This shade here is called Passion. So this is one of the metallic marble shades. As you can see when you swirl it together, that is the kind of shade that it comes out on me. It's a cool toned kind of purpley, pinky sort of color, and it's definitely got hints of kind of blue in it depending on how the light hits it. Excellent quality. Look how thick and intense that swatch is with one swipe. So this one is one of the more glittery shades. Look how intense and gorgeous that color is as well. It's a warm toned kind of coppery pink color. Excellent quality, applies like an absolute dream. So Please Me's got the same kind of texture as the previous one. Another absolutely gorgeous color. It's a warm toned light brown shade, but like with a hint of taupe to it and a metallic finish. Again, absolutely amazing quality. This shade here is called Hypnotic, and this shade is actually the one that I used with the previous one. As you can see, they go so nicely together. This is a matte warm toned shade. It's kind of got a hint of mauve to it, but a slight little bit of coral if you look closely enough. Excellent quality, blends out beautifully and lovely and pigmented, great as a transitional shade. This shade here is called Hard. So this is that marble matte shade that we talked about. As you can see, the quality and pigmentation of it is absolutely excellent. As one clean swipe, it's a warm toned kind of medium brown. It's like what I would call a dirty brown, and it's got a nice satin finish. As you can see, the light shines off of it in comparison to the matte shade which is next to it over here, and that's the way that you can see how different they are in terms of matte shades. This shade here is called Untamed. So this one is another matte shade, and it is a cool toned kind of burgundy kind of color, And as you can see with shades which are always like this burgundy cranberry kind of color, it's slightly patchy. You can see where it became patchy towards the end of the swatch. So just bear that in mind when you are blending it out. It's definitely not as bad as other burgundy shades I've come across in the past. And I've actually had no issues with blending this out just because I gave it a little bit of extra elbow, that's why. This shade here is called Irresistible. This is another one of the shimmery shades. Absolutely love the quality of this as well. It's a warm toned kind of medium coppery pink sort of shade, definitely a lot more warm toned than this one here, but as you can see, one clean swipe and it's absolutely excellent. This shade here is called Flower Power. This one is definitely one of my favorite shades from the whole palette. It is one of those marble shimmery ones. My one is a warm tone kind of yellowy color with a bit of gold. I can definitely detect a little bit of pink and green sparkle to it, but again, this is one of those shades where everybody will have a different version in their palette. But I'm actually really happy with this. The quality is very, very intense. Great to use on my brow bone as I did today, on my tear duct as I did today, as well as on the lid. And it's incredibly vibrant and very, very pigmented. This shade here is called Rough. This is yet another matte shade, which is a warm toned light brown. And as you can see, very similar, maybe a little bit deeper to that shade Hypnotic. But that's why I layered these two together. This shade here is called Spicy. So this is another matte shade and yet another burgundy shade. This is a little bit more cool toned, similar in texture to this previous one over here called Untamed. As you can see, this one is slightly deeper. Again, same textural kind of problems as is common with this kind of shade. This shade here is called Arouse. This is another matte shade, absolutely excellent in quality, as is obvious by the swatch. It's a warm toned, medium kind of orangey, coppery kind of shade. Absolutely stunning. So this is the shade The Bubonic Plague, also known as Slippery. I really had to dig my fingers in deep to get this colour to even show up. What is the point of it? What's the point? Tell me. Look, it's just kind of greasy looking with a little bit of colour. I ain't never going to use this, let's be honest. This shade here is called Tantric. So this one is another one of the shimmery shades, a warm toned, medium kind of gold. Absolutely love this shade. This is the one I'm wearing on my lid today, you guys. I mean, look at that. I don't even need to describe it to you. You can see it for yourself. It's gorgeous. Look at the way the light bounces off it. It's excellent. This shade here is called Naughty. So this shade is another matte shade. It's a warm toned, kind of medium, darkish, kind of plummy brown. Great quality, slightly difficult to blend because it starts to border on to how the quality of the burgundy shades is, but it's still nevertheless quite easy to use. This shade here is called Provocative. This is another warm tone, shimmery, sparkly shade. It's a dark pink, absolutely great quality and texture. I'm running out of arm space in case you haven't noticed by now. This shade here is called Desire. So this is, oh gosh, look, let me just blend that out properly. This one is very, very intense. It's absolutely stunning, dark coppery red sort of shade. Really, really intense. It's going to be great to use for like Christmas looks. And then the final shade here on the end is called Juicy. And that is another matte shade right there on my flabby bits. And this is a warm toned kind of medium coral shade. Again, excellent quality and I love it. So here is all the 18 shades. As you can see, they work definitely very nicely together, but there are a lot of similar shades. All right, I'm back, washed, clean. Just to let you know that some of the burgundy shades do tend to stain, so bear that in mind. When you're cleaning off your eye makeup, make sure you use something oil-based, especially in particular to this. That is the swatches of all of these. Now let's do a quick comparison with some of the other ones, which I know which is why you lot are here today. So let's first start off with the Mercury Retrograde, right? So if I open it up, and if I look against the shades, I'll be honest with you guys, there's only one shade in the Mercury Retrograde which looks similar to one of the other ones in here. And that would be the shade here, which is called Karma. Karma is not too dissimilar to the shade Juicy, but I can definitely see that Karma is a lot more mauve. So it's similar, but not the same. Let's now go on to the new nude one. In all honesty, there aren't that many dupes. I have to be honest, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'll probably say that the shade here called Teddy, similar-ish to Teddy yet again. But this one here is definitely a lot more mauve, deeper mauve than the one in the retrograde one. And Juicy is definitely a lot more warm tone. And then in regards to some of the shimmery shades are similar definitely to some of the shimmery shades in here, but the quality is far superior in the Naughty palette than in the new Nude one. So for example, the shade called Crave is very similar to the shade in the Naughty palette called Flower Power, but this one I have dug and dug and dug, used my fingers, I've almost hit pan on it, whereas this one is so buttery soft and smooth I can use it with my finger as well as with a brush. So in terms of the quality, the Naughty one is superior, even though the shades are similar. Same with the shade called Daydream, very similar, and Fantasy are also very similar to some of the shimmery shades in here, but again, the quality is much better with this one. In that respect, this one definitely beats this one hands down. And the same with the shade called Charmed, very similar to the shade called Please Me, but again, Please Me far superior in terms of quality. Now let's move on to some of the Nude Obsessions ones. Now the Nude Light one, there are no dupes, which is why I'm not going to show it to you. Let's start off with the Nude Medium one, which looks like this. Now if I was to hold them up next to each other, I would definitely say that this shade here is very similar to the shade called Arouse. Similar, but not the same, I would say. And then there is a shade at the bottom here, which is very similar to the shade called Rough. But again, Rough appears to be a lot more neutral in tone. That's this central shade right here. And then the shimmery shades, I can't see any dupes at all. So let's move on to Nude Rich. None of the matte shades are similar. You can hold it up if you want me to hold it up. You can see for yourself. See, Naughty, if I put it above that shade right there, if I put it a shade, yeah, you can see how they're different. So I know loads of people wanted to believe that there are so many similar shades, but similar is not same. I've said that in the past. Now, in terms of, let's say this shade right here in the corner, remember these haven't got any names. You could say it's similar to the shade Desire, but similar is not the same. Desire is definitely a lot more pink. This shade over here is similar to the shade called Shameless, I would say. Very similar. But again, Shameless is a lot more pink and the quality is a lot better. And then even the deeper shade in here is not the same as the deeper shade in this palette. So that's that palette done. And now the other one which I picked out was the Haze Sand palette by Huda Beauty. And then I was like, okay, so this shade in the corner, this deeper kind of plum shade, is very similar to the shade called Spicy, if you can see. Similar, but I'd say Spicy is definitely a lot deeper. And then none of these other matte shades happen to match these. So you know what, you guys, you're all good. If you do want to purchase this, by all means go for it. Just bear in mind that yeah, there are very similar shades, which is why so many of you will be thinking it looks very, very samey. But I've gone through all of my palettes and I've shown you guys there are similar shades, but they're firstly all spread out between various palettes. So it's not quite the same as it all being in one palette. So you can't say she's dupe copied an entire palette. One or two shades picked out here and there, fine. Similar, but not the same. But I would personally have liked this to have been a lot more caramel kind of shades. I know she's trying to do this whole new nude thing, but I don't know about you guys, I'm getting a little bit bored of it. Like, let's try something new now, you know, let's try something different. New nude, fine, we understand you like that color, but why don't you bring out another new nude? Why don't you bring out a classic standard caramel brown toned medium girl toned palette? We all love those kind of shades. That's a money maker, do you know what I mean? Now overall, I'm gonna say that I give this palette a 10. This is the best palette she has ever come out with, bar COVID-19 in the corner. The rest of them are excellent. The quality is excellent. Very, very impressed with this eyeshadow palette, and it's definitely something that I reach for and have been reaching for every single day since I bought it. You can come out with gorgeous daytime looks, nighttime looks, going out looks. Not that anyone's going out. We're in lockdown too in the UK right now, so I'm all dressed up to go to my bedroom. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So many of you will love it. It's just down to personal preference now. It's just down to you deciding based on this review whether or not you think it's worth purchasing it. I will never force anybody to buy anything. That is not my job as a reviewer. I will always give the pros and the cons of everything because that is fair and unbiased in the way to do it. Personally, I'm very happy that I got this. Is it a must-have? No, I would not say it's a must-have at all. If loads of you have already got so many Huda palettes and you're happy with those, those, then keep to those. There's no need for you to then go out and buy this just for the sake of having it, just say you've got something new. I got mine from Feel Unique, where I have Huda Beauty set up as my brand for life, so I got an automatic 10% off. Then I had £10 worth of vouchers, so I got an additional £10 off. So don't forget, even if you buy it from somewhere like Boots, they're always on offer, so you can always try it out. So that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the brand new Huda Beauty Naughty Nude eyeshadow palette. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free to ask me below. Other than that, I hope you guys are wonderful, great and safe and beautiful as always, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.